This is Family Equality's workshop, how to access your COVID-19 benefits. Real quick, as people are rolling in, I'm just going to do a song and dance about the people who are bringing you this webinar. Family Equality is the nation's leading nonprofit for all things LGBTQ plus families. We offer resources, community building events, which look a little bit different now, as I'm sure you can imagine, and on the ground advocacy work for LGBTQ plus families and LGBTQ plus people who want to form families. So this event right now is part of a larger program called The Neighborhood, which is kind of our response to COVID-19 and having all of our events, which are usually in person, canceled. So now we are offering like 7 events a week, if that, more than that, for everyone, for all ages. So we have meetups for parents, we have support spaces for people who want to be parents, we have drag story time, which looks a little different than this, but is still wonderful for all ages. And then we have workshops like this, which are really meant to help support you and get you the resources that you need at this really confusing time. So you can check out all that we have to offer at familyequality.org/neighborhood. You'll get a link to that in your email at some point. Keep your eyes open for that. But right now, let's focus on what we've got in front of us. I'm joined today by 2 policy rock stars who can answer or hope to answer all of your questions about accessing COVID-19 benefits and advocating for yourself. So Caleigh is the Constituent Advocate for Representative Angie Craig in Minnesota, which just happens to be where I'm at, and we are rocking our Minnesota grandpa sweaters. And then Julie Kruse is the Director of Federal Policy for Family Equality, and altogether an expert on all things policy. And with that, I will just let them take it away and stop gabbing.
All right, well, thanks, Anna. And we're going to talk today about how to unleash your COVID-19 benefits if you're stuck or if you have questions about them. Hopefully we can answer a lot of your questions today on this call, but we'll also be available by email following the call for further questions. But what I'm going to start out with today is how to reach out to your congressional representative to get help on accessing benefits that you need. These could be any federal benefits, immigration benefits, Social Security benefits. Today we'll probably mostly focus on the benefits that have become available in the first 3 COVID-19 response legislation bills that have come out, and we know that the House plans to pass a 4th tomorrow, so there will be even more benefits available to those of you that need them to get through this period. And so I want to point you to a really handy tool on our website to start out, which is how do you find your legislators? And we have a link on our website, which is the link you see there, fmeq.co/legislators. And I'm going to go to that page on my website, my screen. And Anna, if you want to show my screen, that would be terrific. Let me know when you can see my screen. Oops.
Perfect, we see it.
Great. So I'm just going to go to this web page that we linked you to, and I'm going to enter my information, but I'm going to enter a fake address. You shouldn't do that, but you'll get the wrong lawmaker. But I'm going to enter an address in Congressman Craig's district. And by the way, I am super happy Caleigh is presenting with us. I'm excited because, like many of us, Congresswoman Craig is an LGBTQ parent of 4 boys, and really glad that her team offered to help our families out, similar to her own family, in getting through this period. So thank you both to Congresswoman Craig and to Caleigh. So I'm going to enter my address here. And you can usually just enter your zip code. That should help me find my legislators. It may take a moment to come up here. All right, we're going to scroll past the president and vice president without further comment and come down to our congressional elected officials. And you can see that I'm coming up with 3 here, the representative and 2 senators. And you really should feel free to see all of 3 of them as an amazing resource for you. All of them have a big team of constituent services staff. The representatives have a slightly smaller team than the senators, but they have a lot less constituents. So probably the ratio is about the same. And even if you don't like your senator, a lot of times you may really, really like their constituent services staff, and they may provide excellent constituent services. So don't let that keep you from reaching out to them. So I'm going to start by clicking on Congresswoman Craig's information. And I'm seeing her website isn't coming up here, so I'm going to get there through her Twitter feed. And I know you can get there even if you don't have a Twitter account. But here's her website, and that's pretty standard. It's her last name .house.gov. And when you get to her website, I'm not going to sign up for her newsletter just yet. You'll notice that she has a lot of COVID-19 resources right there on her website, which probably includes both national, state, and local resources. But I'm going to scroll down because usually what you find at the bottom of the website is the congressional offices. And they always have a DC office, and they often have 1 or more local offices. So we see here that Congresswoman Craig has a local office with a phone number. And so to reach out to her constituent services staffers, just call that phone number. I recommend asking for the constituent services director, but if they don't have one, or if that person's not available, go ahead and say, I'd like to speak with any constituent services staff. And that will start you on your point of contact. I would suggest when you're talking to someone, make sure you get their email address and name so you can follow up with them. And I am just going to go back here a little bit and show that, let's say I'm sure this wouldn't be the case with Congresswoman Craig, but let's say I just can't get through to that office, or I'm not getting through to staff. I'll try another person. So let me try Senator Klobuchar. And with senators, they're going to have multiple offices in the states. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I see she has different offices in her states. And frankly, there's 2 ways to look at it. Let's say you live in Duluth. So you might click on that part of your state. Sorry, not in Duluth. You live in Virginia, Minnesota. And there's a phone number there. But I'm thinking, what if I click on the greater metro area? The greater metro office in Minneapolis may have more staff. So let's say I call the Northeast office, and they just don't have any staff to help me. You can go ahead and try a different office. You don't have to call the office where you live. This is a senator that represents everybody across the state. And just keep trying. And you know what? If those 2 numbers are busy, go ahead and try this number. So the main thing is to try to get through, and you will be surprised that these folks are really here to help you and want to answer your questions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Caleigh, who can answer your question.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. My name is Caleigh Gumbiner. I use they, them pronouns. I am a constituent advocate for Representative Craig. Let me see if I can't figure out how to share my screen a little bit. Can you see it? Is that working?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. I'm going to pop back to the webinar real quick just so I can see you all. Yeah, so I think a lot of folks are surprised when they hear about constituent services at first, because I think we really think of our legislators as lawmakers, and they are. But they also have a staff of folks who are here to help you navigate the federal agencies that they are legislating and that they are funding. So I think the first thing to do is go to the website. You'll see on Representative Craig's website this tab that is my favorite tab. It is the Services tab. And this is where, if for some reason, it's off hours, we're not answering the phone. If you're not getting the answer you need from a federal agency, or you're not getting it in a timely fashion, you can click Help Navigating a Federal Agency. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is a little slow, so we're waiting for it to catch up here. But you can scroll through, and it talks a little bit about some of the information you'll need to submit your authorization form and to kind of get us going here. But right here on the website, it's really easy. There's an authorization form that allows us to contact those agencies on your behalf, and more importantly, gets all of your contact information to a constituent services representative immediately. So you can scroll through that a bit. And again, I'll just point out at the bottom here, we have our DC office as well as our Burnsville office right there for you. So that's one really easy way to get in contact with your constituent services representative. So another thing we might want to talk about is, what are some of these federal agencies and what are some of these issues we can help you with? I think, Julie, you rightly put it as an alphabet soup. It's the IRS, it's USCIS, CMS, Medicare, Social Security. We help liaise with all of those agencies. So a couple of examples might be an issue with veterans benefits. Say that they missed your check this month and you need help tracking that down. We can help your VSO get in touch with the VA. We've had issues with Medicare start dates, where for whatever reason Medicare has the wrong eligibility date, and we can help folks get their Medicare ready and running by working with the Center for Medicare and Medicaid. Other issues, we've had an example with the Social Security office is we had a woman who suffered a traumatic brain injury during a car accident. She was on disability for about 2 years, and there was a technical glitch, and those were calculated as an overpayment by Social Security. And they had begun to garnish her wages and take her tax refunds. And by helping her liaise that relationship with that agency, by clarifying that she wasn't in the wrong, we were able to return her garnished wages and make sure that moving forward, she didn't have any debt to the Social Security Administration. So those are some of the issues that we're talking about when we talk about constituent services. Now, one important thing right now is we have a lot of field agencies, field offices for these agencies that are closed. And there's a lot of other difficulties we're having navigating these agencies due to COVID-19. So do feel free to reach out to your congressional office if you're having trouble getting in touch with Social Security, with the IRS in these times. I also want to point out that Representative Craig, and I'm sure many other representatives, have COVID-19 specific resources listed on the website. And again, apologies as my Wi-Fi loads. So you can see here we have specific drop-downs if you have a really niche issue, for example. But we also have a community resource guide that you can download. We have the most up-to-date information on CDC guidelines, on what the Minnesota Department of Health is doing in these times, on where and how to get tested, as well as the legislation that Angie is helping to pass to fund these new benefits as a response to COVID-19. And if you click on Community Resource Guide, we have also lists of what's open and what's closed. So you get a general idea of where you can and can't go right now. We keep that as up to date as possible. Again, some of those CDC guidelines, what's in the CARES Act. And then what's really important to me, a little bit on how not to get scammed. What can I do if I can't afford and or go to the store to get groceries or supplies? This is something that is becoming more and more important to us as constituent services. We always try to connect people with supplemental resources. If they're waiting on their Social Security, we always try to find a nonprofit or other supplements to help them get through difficult times. But right now, more than ever, we are working to make sure that Minnesotans know where they can go for help. So we have a list of food pantries that you can access, as well as local United Way chapters and other nonprofits to help you out in this time. And there's just a couple other web pages that I want to go to, since I know these are kind of recurring questions when it comes to COVID-19. Here's the IRS webpage on the coronavirus tax relief and economic payments. The IRS is obviously a federal agency, and so if you are having issues, you're more than welcome to connect with your congressional office. I do highly recommend, though, that you first use their tracker system for seeing the status of your economic impact payment. And you can also use this website to check your payment status. So there you go. And you can also use it to submit your direct deposit information. For example, if you have filed your taxes and always received a check in the mail, it would be great if you could go ahead and put in your direct deposit information. That will just streamline the process and hopefully get you your money a little bit sooner. One other thing I wanted to point out is that most every federal agency is having somewhat adapted services due to COVID-19 and office closures. And for USCIS, for example, if you go to uscis.gov/coronavirus, it takes you to this page that gives them their official response to COVID-19. And that might help you get some answers on what's open, what's not, how to navigate some of the services that you're used to using freely. So with that, I think that pretty much covers the information I was going to go over, unless there's anything else you'd like me to touch on before we do Q&A. Oh, no. Oh, there you go. Jump into questions. Sounds good.
Yeah, go ahead. And I would say, Anna, jump in with the questions.
Okay, great. Just a reminder to everyone, you can pop your questions in the question box, question area, and we will get to them. This is like a great opportunity to just get some one-on-one time with two experts who are here to help. So we have a question from someone who says they're in a long-term registered domestic partnership. Due to discrepancies in how the federal government and their state recognizes same-sex relationships, a lot of advice they've read says that their partner should not be claimed as married, but as a dependent. They've always done that and it hasn't been a problem, but with recent state filing, except with recent state filing, but that's a tangent. Anyway, they have now received their stimulus check in the amount of $1,200. But their partner has not received anything. Their partner is unemployed due to COVID-19 and can demonstrate this, but there appears to be no way for her partner to file for a check because she's been claimed as a dependent for years. And she can't seem to find a way to file for unemployment benefits because everything appears to require that she is either married or is not claimed as a dependent. So do you have any advice?
Yeah, that is a very difficult issue. I know that for Angie, she has a bill, the All Dependents Count Act. So we are trying to sort of expand some of the money that's coming to those who are listed as dependents. I believe right now the $500 plus on the stimulus is only going to dependents who are under the age of 17. This would bring it up to the age of 24. So I know that doesn't exactly make them whole. But it hopefully would help them a bit. My other advice is to talk to your local taxpayer advocate. There's also usually free tax clinics that are hosted around the state, depending on where they are. This is definitely a unique issue, not one that I have faced on this specifically. So that's a good question, and I'd be happy to dig into it further if they want to share a little bit of their contact information.
Great. Yeah, I think we'll have this person's email address so we can make those connections.
Sounds good.
more. But Julie, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that after this call, we're going to collect all the questions asked and find the answers we didn't know the answers to, and then send out an FAQ to all of the attendees and make that available to the public as well. So we have your emails, and anything we can't answer completely now, we will try to get back to you with a good answer. But we will also provide the link to the Taxpayer Advocate's office. You can find your local taxpayer advocate.
Great. This was a question submitted before the webinar, actually. Someone wants to know, are there ways to find flexibility in non-supplanting rules for federal funding?
Right. So I think this one, if I remember correctly, was about specifically the Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL loans that are coming down. And so these are loans from the SBA that are going to help small businesses, and now it's also been opened up to nonprofits. So I think that's really where the grants piece come in. I think the question is about making sure that federal dollars aren't being seen as supplanting versus supplementing. And at the end of the day, the best person who can clarify that for you or who can guarantee that will be the granting agency. So a lot of these grants that we're referring to when we talk about federal dollars are passed by the federal Congress, the federal level, and then the states administer them. And the agencies that administer them at the state will have a grant administrator, the person that you sent your application to, the person that administers the dollars. They're going to have the best sense of how the state legislature specifically went through and said this money can be used for this. So I would contact them, and then I would also talk to your state's Small Business Administration office. And if you're having issues getting in contact with either of those people, ask your specific congressional office, because they probably have that contact at the state agency, at the Small Business Administration office. I know that's something that we've done before for local nonprofits, is liaise with those agencies so that there's a streamline of communication. So I would say that's probably the best way to go through that.
Awesome. Great. Someone has a question about economic impact payment. They are a married opposite sex couple that files jointly. One spouse is receiving SSA retirement benefits. So will that couple receive $2,400 initially, or will the SSA benefit receiving spouse receive theirs later?
It's my understanding that if it's just as cut and dry as you say right there, they should be receiving their $1,200 without issue. The only thing that I want to go back to is that if you're receiving Social Security through a direct deposit, it'll go right into that direct deposit account. If you're receiving a Social Security check via mail, then you will probably want to use that IRS website that I mentioned earlier to put in your direct deposit information to streamline, so that we don't have the delay of having to print and mail a check. And so I really, really encourage everyone, whether you've filed your taxes or not, whether you're getting Social Security or not, just make sure that the IRS has your direct deposit information so that we can streamline getting those stimulus checks right into your account.
Yeah, and speaking of, someone was wondering if they were going to get their stimulus check via a card that has been canceled and reissued, or if it'll be via a paper check in the mail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know this is an issue for folks who use tax preparers that then put their refund on like a debit card or a prepaid Visa card. So to circumvent that, I would go ahead, and I know I keep saying it, but put your info, your direct deposit info, into the IRS website. Do make sure you're using the right website, a .gov website. You want to be careful that you don't accidentally click something that's built just to look like the IRS website. I know that in vulnerable times, there's a lot of folks that will unfortunately take advantage of that to scam folks. So do be careful with who you share your information. I would also say make sure that you talk to your tax preparer, let them know the situation. Make sure that you use the economic payment tracker to see the status of it. You know, if it says they sent it to you, but it's not on that card, then you're going to have to do a little bit of navigating that system. which is a great time to get your congressional office involved. And if it says it should be on the way and you had been using that card, but you want it to be direct deposited, go ahead and put in that information.
Awesome. This person has a question. They say, our center has a number of state and federal grants, all with supplanting rules. While the PPP small business program does not reference supplanting, if we use the PPP loan for payroll and seek forgiveness, will we be in violation of the rules on the grants? It almost appears a fix for this would need to be legislation or some overall rule telling various agencies to waive supplanting rules around the PPP program. And that's the end of that question.
Yeah, I would kind of go back to the top where we talked about making sure you're working actively with your granting agency. And then I think the second piece of that, exactly like the questioner named, is the advocacy piece. Talk to your congressional office, let them know you're having this issue. And when the next CARES Act rolls around, ask them to make sure there's specific language that addresses the issue of PPP being considered supplanting funding. So I think they're right. There's not a lot of clarity on that right now as we develop the PPP program. I also think that you should just directly contact your granting agency so that they're aware of the issue, you're being proactive, and they'll let you know right away if they see it as a problem or if they're waiting for federal guidance. And if they're waiting for federal guidance, then go to your federal representative, your congressperson, your senators, and advocate for that language to be in the next supplement.
Awesome. I wonder if it would be helpful as more and more people are submitting their questions. Do you have questions that have come up recently in your in the past couple of weeks of kind of triaging the situation? What are the common questions that you're running into, and what are the answers, obviously, to those questions?
Yeah. So I think one question for like up until essentially today has been, when is PPP and EIDL going to be replenished? And we see this week that the House and the Senate are passing more funding for both of those programs, and applications will again be opening very soon. So the PPP program, you go through an SBA lender. So I would utilize the Small Business Administration website to find some local lenders in your area to start talking to make sure you get in line for when that funding comes down again. And the EIDL loan is directly through the SBA. So just make sure you're watching for when those funds are, finally checked through, and applications will remain open. Another question comes with EIDL advances. There's up to $10,000 available for an EIDL advance. Now, I think some people means that they will get $10,000. That's been a point of confusion that we've seen. Right now, my understanding is that the advance is $1,000 per employee. So if you are a sole proprietor, you're going to get a $1,000 advance. So I think some people have been tripped up by that up to $10,000 language. And so that's something to double check with the SBA when you are applying for your EIDL loan, is how much of an advance do you qualify for? The other ones we kind of went over a little bit. Where's my IRS payment? Where's my stimulus check? And folks are also wondering if they filed in 2018 but not 2019, will they qualify? If you filed as an independent in 2018 and your direct deposit information is in there, that is the absolute easiest way for you to get the stimulus check as quickly as possible. And then the other questions have just been about the adapted services out of the other federal agencies that we utilize every day. And your local congressional office should be able to help you navigate with those local field offices, since it's all kind of specific depending on whether your state has a shelter in place or if they're starting to open back up. I know in Minnesota will be at least through May 4th. So I would, again, reach out to your congressional office if you're having an issue there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's certainly helpful. let's see, someone wants to know, do you expect SNAP program to expand nationwide to allow online ordering? And second part of the question, any suggestion for workarounds other than finding someone to go into the physical store for the person? And they also say thank you.
Oh, yes. No, I'm so glad to be here. Glad to be able to answer some of these questions. I have not heard about online ordering opening up for SNAP. That's something that I'm happy to dive into. I know that, Angie, as part of the Agriculture Committee, is really invested in nutrition, especially nutrition for families. And so I will have to follow up on that one, I'm sorry to say. And then the second part of the question had to do with options other than going into the grocery store. Is that correct? I'm sorry.
Yeah, suggestions for workarounds other than finding someone to go into the physical store for that person.
Yes, like online ordering, or I know there are some services where you can order specifically. The other one, I know in our district, we have a really great seniors organization that has folks who come and volunteer and do grocery delivery, even when it's not COVID-19 times. So there's always those options. Other options might include if you qualify for Meals on Wheels. I also know that schools have been doing expanded nutrition delivery programs for qualifying students who maybe were already using school lunch options. So I would say nonprofits, school district, Meals on Wheels, those are the other options that I know of for food delivery.
And we actually had, I love this teamwork. Someone wrote in and said they believe that Walmart groceries online ordering permits using EBT/SNAP everywhere, even in states that do not
great.
permit their own online shopping. So that's awesome.
That's fantastic. Oh, thank you. That's good for me to know. I'll take that back too.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
Anna, I had a comment on this piece as well. Just the opportunity for advocacy for this. A lot of us, including Family Equality, are very disappointed that there has not been nutrition assistance as part of the COVID-19 response. And we know that when people get SNAP benefits, they tend to spend the money right away. So it has a wonderful economic impact in terms of supporting local businesses. And I'm sure that Congresswoman Craig on the Agriculture Committee is working on this. But if you go to our website, and maybe, Anna, there's some way for you to show our Action Center, you can reach out to your member of Congress and say, in the next piece of COVID-19 legislation, we need to see nutrition assistance. People in this country deserve to eat. So if that matters to you, you can check out our Action website. You could also pick up the same phone number and call your congressperson and tell them to vote for it. But our website makes it pretty easy to contact all your members on the issues that are important for you.
Mm-hmm. And I know I'll have to follow up on the status of this, but I know Angie was advocating for the USDA to open up options with the EBT credits. So, for example, being able to get 18 eggs instead of 12 eggs, things like that, where just knowing that stores are low on specific items and you might have to buy a half gallon instead of a gallon of milk, things like that. So I do believe there's some flexibility coming into those programs, just knowing that stores are lower on options right now. So that's something else that if you're using SNAP benefits, I would monitor what is being considered acceptable, other options, alternatives, if you will.
Great. I don't see any more questions in the queue. So if you guys have questions, please put them in the question box. Now is the time. I don't know, we will just give it maybe 1 or 2 more minutes for anyone to give more questions. Julie was referring to an action center. I put that in the chat. That's action.familyequality.org. We just revamped it because we really want to make sure everyone feels empowered to contact their lawmakers to kind of make sure that COVID-19 response legislation includes everyone and covers everything that we need. So you can check that out. And I think we'll also obviously put that in our follow-up email, which we will be sending out to you. And because I'm not seeing any more questions come in, I will also say we will give you a little bit of contact information. In the follow-up email, a question does pop up that maybe didn't occur to you in this moment. So be on the lookout for that. I think we'll also link to a few more helpful resources for you. And I'm going to put myself on camera again because you can't see me, which seems silly. Hello, everyone. I thought I'd close out and have you guys look at my lovely face while I do that. Like I said, I encourage anyone with additional questions to email us. You can email us at info@familyequality.org if that's easiest, or I think Julie has nobly offered up her email, which is jkruse, spelled the way you see it on the bottom of the screen, at familyequality.org. I also just want to encourage you to check out all the great work that Family Equality is doing right now. Like I said, we have a tool on our website that you can contact your lawmaker and urge them to pass much more comprehensive COVID-19 response bills. Oh, we have another question actually. Great, middle of right in the nick of time. This person says a close friend of theirs is unemployed due to COVID-19. Right before the outbreak, they were promoted from a temp agency to the core company. A week later, they were laid off. Consequently, their unemployment benefits are now only providing compensation for the week that they worked for that core company, not the year of them working as a temp. They don't know who to contact to discuss that. So do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and something I should point out is that while the federal government is passing the legislation that funds the expanded unemployment benefits, it's up to the state's unemployment agency. We have DEED here in Minnesota. It's up to the state's unemployment insurance agency to be dispersing the funds and making sure that those applications go correctly. So you'll notice also with the pandemic unemployment assistance, which is the expanded unemployment insurance for gig workers, the federal government passed that, but it's up to the states to administer it. So for unemployment insurance, I would really recommend looking up your state representatives. I know sometimes they tend to be a little less visible than the federal ones, but they are in charge of the ones who are administering the unemployment insurance at the moment.
That's helpful. I think that's a really good, useful question. I know it seems like everyone has their own very unique, very troubling situation when it comes to this current moment. So,
and that is kind of typically what we get through constituent services is the most unique, the most niche issues with federal agencies that folks, for whatever reason, can't solve themselves. And now with COVID-19, it just seems to be that there's a variable to all of them. And so we're doing our best to respond to as many as we can.
And Anna, can you show my screen again for a moment? Because I want to show people how to find their local elected officials and their state elected officials as well as their members of Congress. Great. So I showed you at the very beginning, oops, let me get this back up. I showed you at the very beginning of this webinar how to find your senators and representatives. And what I didn't show you is if you just keep scrolling down, you will find your state senators and state representatives. So if you're having trouble with state benefits like unemployment compensation, you'll see that the names and phone numbers are right there for you to give a call. And they will have constituent services folks like Caleigh also.
Awesome. Okay, so with that, I think we've come to the end of the webinar. I just want to thank you guys for giving your time and your expertise to our attendees today. I know these are questions that I don't even know how to read them because I don't know what these words mean. And you guys are here with like quick, easy to understand answers. So I know I really appreciate it. I'm sure our attendees do as well. A quick reminder that you can check out all of the things we're hosting. They're not all. This is a very helpful event, but we also host drag story hours and dance parties. So we run the full gamut, whatever you're looking for. We've got over at familyequality.org/neighborhood. And keep an eye out for an email from us with links to answers to more of your questions. There's also going to be a survey in that email, and we'd love to hear from you, both what you liked about this webinar and what you'd want to see in the future. I think I speak for everyone when I say it's really helpful to have this one-on-one direct support. So I would hope that our attendees also agree and are looking for more ways that we can serve them.
And I would just like to add my thank you to Caleigh for your time today. It's time taken away from Congresswoman Craig's constituents, but we appreciate it. And I also just want to thank Congresswoman Craig for fighting for LGBTQ families. She is really a leader in our efforts to pass the Every Child Deserves a Family Act to make sure that LGBTQ people are not discriminated against in foster care and adoption, not the parents nor the kids. And it's an important fight, and she's been in there working with families, working with young people, and trying to get this moving. And of course, it was moving, and now COVID-19 has taken over everything. We look forward to the day when we are past this pandemic and can return to other important items. But we thank her for her advocacy for all of our families. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll make sure to pass that on to her. I think it's personal for her. So we're glad to be fighting for all families in the 2nd District.
Awesome. Well, with that, I'm going to hit end webinar. Thank you guys all for coming, and thank you to our presenters again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.